Waiting. Okay. Um, let's see. Okay, I don't see anybody. Oh, okay. I'm seeing viewers pop in. Okay. All right. So as soon as it appears that some of you are here already. So if you're here, if you could put a comment in. Oh, great, great. Whew. All right. Okay. So I'm only 5 minutes late. Oh man, my German and my Swiss friends are going to be so annoyed with me. You know. Okay. So I'd like to thank you for coming today. We said that I asked you to join me for a beer, so I'm gonna go ahead and crack one open. And so, Prost, Salud, Nazarovia, whatever. And so, um, Christmas season is upon us, and there are many opportunities to go to parties and show off your hypnosis. Actually, any time of the year is a great time to show off your hypnosis because as a hypnotist, you are, and some of you forget this, you are the coolest person in any room that you enter. You absolutely are. There is nobody cooler than a hypnotist. I have had many, many jobs in my life, and they were cool jobs. I mean, really, really jobs to kill for, and but none of them could come close to being a hypnotist. This is just the coolest thing. So any room that you enter, you are the coolest person in there, and unless there's a brain surgeon astronaut in the room, and that very rarely happens. So so how do you show it off? Now here's the problem. Many hypnotists, when someone asks them, can you show me some hypnosis, um, they don't know what to do. I mean, what do you do? How do you demonstrate it? And what if it doesn't work? And it's just it's difficult. However, if you follow the steps that I'm going to outline in this talk, you'll know what to do, and you'll be able to show them just how cool you are. So the first one is kind of funny. I forget where I got this from. It wasn't from hypnosis. It was from some other community. But the thing is, even though you're very cool, right? It doesn't carry as much weight if you say to somebody, "Well, I'm a hypnotist." You know, that's nice. I mean, that may really interest them. But what's really better is if somebody else tells them that you're the hypnotist, because then it for some reason they believe it so much more when they hear it from somebody else talking about you. And the best way that I've ever found to do that, and I've used this so many times with my friends, I set them up. I say, well, don't look into Mary's eyes. Well, why wouldn't I look into Mary's eyes? Well, because Mary's a hypnotist. And more often than not, that gets a lot of interest. And people say, really? And they'll ask many questions. Is that real? Can you help me stop smoking? Can you, but the best question they'll ask is, can you show me something? Okay, so that's when you jump into action. I remember I used this one time. I was teaching a class in Switzerland in Frauenfeld, and this one young man, Kevin, was in the class. And Kevin and and my wife and Nicole Wagernagel went over to the train station. There was a little cafe outside, and we were having a beer. And this hen party came in, and it was a group of girls. One girl was getting married, and she had her bridesmaids and her friends with her, and they were making the rounds trying to raise money so that they could go out for a night on the town. And so they came to our table, and I said to them, "Well, don't look into Kevin's eyes. He was a young guy, unmarried." And I said, "Don't look into his eyes." And the girls said, "Why?" And I said, "Because he's a hypnotist." And immediately they just focused on Kevin, and that was his intro or his entree. And Kevin wound up hypnotizing several of the girls and showing off what he had learned in class. And he had a blast, and the girls had a blast. So number one thing when you're at a party and or any gathering is to get somebody else to tell people that you're the hypnotist, and that gets everybody interested. Now, if they're not, what if they're not interested? Well, that's okay. I mean, somebody who's not interested is going to be a poor subject for you to do your demonstration. So you might as well weed them out right then and there. But if they're interested, then you know you have a better chance of being successful with your demonstration. But years ago, I used to fail. Now I very rarely fail when I want to hypnotize people or show a demonstration because and I got this from Jerry Kine many years ago. He said, you know, you're going to be a lot more successful if you hypnotize people that want to get hypnotized. Duh. Because when I was a new hypnotist, boy, if you didn't run away from me, I was going to try and hypnotize you. So, so when I stopped doing that and started hypnotizing people that wanted to be hypnotized, I became far more successful. So get somebody else. It holds more weight if somebody else identifies you as the hypnotist. All right, that's the first one. All right, so then what do you do? Can you show me some hypnosis? Okay. Well, I think it's best to give a little bit of background. Uh, do, so I'll say, do you know anything about hypnosis? Have you ever been hypnotized? Well, if they say they've been hypnotized, then boom, you can jump right into an induction. But if they've never been hypnotized, which they probably haven't been, and in my hypnosis practice, I have found over the years that only about 5% of the people that come to me for hypnotherapy have ever been hypnotized before. So odds are the people are going to say, no, I've never been hypnotized. But if they have, then you're really set. By the way, I want to let you know we're probably going to go for about 45 minutes, no more than an hour. So if you have things to do, you know, that's all as long as I'm going to keep you, and I'm not selling anything, so that's good. So um, so you want to make them confident in your ability to do the job. So one of the things you could do is you could do a brief history of hypnosis. And it's, you know, this is not to bore them. This is just, well, you've never been hypnotized? Well, let me tell you, hypnosis has been around for thousands of years. Maybe you've heard of Franz Anton Mesmer. If you haven't, have you heard the term mesmerized? Well, that came from Franz Anton Mesmer, and he's most people think of him as the father of hypnosis. And he was a physician that operated during the 1700s and early 1800s, and he would put people into a trance and heal them. It was used for medical purposes. So that's where it came from. And you know, physicians have been using this for decades, and it's really good for pain management, and it's good for all sorts of things. You know, fears and stop smoking. It's the best way to stop smoking. Blah blah blah. And the only reason you're doing this is to establish yourself as the obvious expert, in the words of Elsom Eldridge, who passed away last year or this year, as a matter of fact. The obvious expert. Because when they consider you to be the expert, then they're more confident in your ability to hypnotize them. And if they are confident in your ability to hypnotize them, then you will have a far easier time hypnotizing them. Your prestige is elevated, and the prestige of the hypnotist has a lot to do with the effectiveness of the hypnotist in putting the person into trance. So if you can give them a little bit of history, what's this hypnosis all about? Oh, they've been doing it for thousands of years. You could throw something out like they used to have sleep temples in Egypt, and you'd go there and they would do these things and they would put you in a trance and heal you. And you throw this stuff out. Honestly, if you tell them these things, that's going to be more than 99% of the population knows about hypnosis. So, so that makes you, that establishes you as the obvious expert and increases your ability to hypnotize them. Okay, so I have some notes here, and I'm going to call them up so I make sure that I fit everything that I wanted to say to you into this 45 minutes to an hour. Um, let's see, let me call up my notes here. Uh, okay, there we go. All right, so that's a quick history. Now, the next thing you want to do is you say anybody can be hypnotized. However, I would, there are some tests that I usually use to tell what sort of induction people would work for a particular person. Now, in truth, not everybody can be hypnotized. However, you don't say that to them. You tell them that anybody who wants to be hypnotized can be hypnotized. Why do you do that? Well, once again, it's giving them the expectation that this is going to work. And if they have the expectation that this is going to work, and they have the expectation that you have the skills to do this, it's going to make the process work so much better. So anybody can be hypnotized, but I have some tests that I use to determine how you'll go into hypnosis in the best way. All right, so my favorite one to use is finger magnets. And if you want to do this with me, I'm going to give you a link to a video so you can watch it over and over again how to do this test. And so if you would like to do this with me, I can't see you, but if you want to do it with me, all right? So if you would, just take your fingers and I want you to lock your hands, interlace those fingers and lock those hands together. Now, don't do this yet, but when I ask you to, I'm going to have you bring those index fingers up in front of you, right in front of your face, about 6 inches or maybe, I don't know, 20 centimeters in front of your face for my European friends. And you look at the space between those fingertips, okay? All right, so squeeze those hands together really tight, okay? One, two, three, magnets. It's as if there are magnets in those fingertips and they're getting closer and closer and closer together. Watch the space between those fingertips and they're getting closer and closer and closer together, like they're magnets in those fingertips and they're drawn together very strong, getting closer and closer and closer together. Now, in my experience, about at least 50% of you are already touching with those fingertips. I'm going to snap my fingers and hopefully Facebook doesn't edit out that snap and you're not going to get stuck there. Okay. So you do that, and that tells you, what does it tell you? It tells you if they're resisting you or not. Okay, if their fingertips don't go together, if they move and then pull apart, move and then pull apart, or maybe they even go further away. Okay, that tells you that that person is being resistant, and so therefore you know that that person is not the one you want to choose for your demonstration. Okay, because that person, he or she, is going to resist you. But when they touch, compliment them on that. Say, wow, you did very well. You would probably be very good at going into hypnosis. You want, once again, you want to increase their um, uh, confidence in their ability to do hypnosis. So that's good. Now, another thing you can do, and this is in the video. Let me call that video up because I mean, I have a link. Uh, Okay, I'm gonna put this in the chat right now so that you can look at it. Don't look at it now, please. But when after this video is over, if you want to see uh, a good example of what I just showed you, you can look at this video on YouTube, and it'll show you how to do exactly what I just did. You can watch it over and over, but also it'll show you how to turn this into induction. And I'll briefly discuss this. You tell them they're getting closer and closer, and you can have like 4 or 5 whatever people doing this at the same time, and they're getting closer and closer and closer together. And when they touch, you say, and sometimes they stick, and sometimes they stick, and if you stare at those fingertips, they stick even tighter and tighter and tighter. And then, if they're, look at them, and some of them will pull them apart. Say, try to pull them apart, they get tighter, and some will try and they'll manage to get them apart, but some of them are going to be focused on that, and they cannot pull their fingertips apart. Now, what you're looking at right there is you're looking at a trance. That person is in hypnosis. So all you have to do is tell them, close your eyes, and gently press their hands down, and their head goes forward and support them. And just then you've got a hypnotized person, and then you can do some demonstrations. So this is amazing. I use this. This is the way when I do a show, this is the way I get my volunteers with that. So, and it works beautifully. uh it's so funny, but yeah, it's so easy. So do that, and so then you have them, then you can do some demonstrations with them. All right. So that's the suggestibility test. The other one you could do, and I don't, I know I have, if you look on my YouTube channel, if you look up look at my videos, and search for something like books and balloons. If you search for that, you'll see the books and balloons. Um, get back, books and balloons test, where the books that they imagine draw their hand down, and the balloons draw their hand up. That's another suggestibility test, and I'm sure I have it on my YouTube channel. I just didn't um, find that video beforehand so that I could give you a link to it. But but anyway, so suggestibility tests are good because it kind of brings the crowd in, and it's group participation, and it's really good for a party. So finger magnets, books and balloons. Um, those are really good, safe suggestibility tests. Okay, so you don't want anybody getting hurt. So those are good. All right, so you've done your suggestibility tests, and now you have to choose your subject. So the subject that you choose is, I mean, if you get somebody that locks their fingers, then that's your subject. Um, but you don't always get that. You usually will get it, but you don't always get it. So who do you choose? Well, some people are better at going into hypnosis than others. In general, women are better at going into hypnosis than men, and they tend to cooperate better. So women tend to be better. What other certain groups of people, like for instance, if you have somebody who's into new age type stuff like yoga or meditation or past life regression or that sort of thing, they tend to be more highly hypnotizable than the average person. Um, Certain ethnic groups tend to be better. People whose heritage is from the Indian subcontinent tend to be more highly hypnotizable than people from Northern Europe. And a good example of this is if you look at James Esdale's work in India um, during the 1840s to the 1850s, possibly into the 1860s. Um, he was doing work down in India, and he was having great success with putting people into trance and completely anesthetizing them. He was doing some very severe, he did 300 very major operations on the people down there, uh, using just trance to anesthetize them. Now, later, when he returned to the UK, he found it didn't work as well with Northern Europeans. And so, although Northern Europeans can be very good, they're not as good at going into hypnosis as people from the Indian subcontinent. And I don't know if this is cultural or if it's genetic. Don't know. But if you have two people that you're thinking about hypnotizing, and one is from Norway, and the other one is from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, I'm going to take the person from India, Pakistan, or Bangladesh because odds are they're going to be better at going into hypnosis. You know, so and I don't want to get too much into what makes better subjects, but yeah, there are other things like for instance, um, all right, one kind of funny one. People who have a history of chemically altering their state of mind, they tend to be more highly hypnotizable. Maybe it's just because they're adventurous. Maybe it's just because they've been there before. I don't know, but people who have that history tend to be more highly hypnotizable. I wrote a book on hypnotizability. It's out of print right now, but yeah, that's good. So anyway, so that's how you choose your subject. So you've chosen your subject. What are you gonna do with them? Okay, um, I recommend doing an induction that cannot fail. All right, and that induction is the handshake interrupt induction. And I'm going to give you a link to this so you can look at it um, after this. Don't look at it now, please. But I have a video on YouTube you can look at, and it will show the handshake interrupt induction 5 different ways. I did it with this one young woman. Let's see, where's the comment thing? This one young woman that I was working with in Georgia, and she's just amazing, and she's in a lot of my YouTube videos. But anyway, the handshake interrupt is a great induction, and what you do is you selected your subject and you go in for the handshake, and when they go for the handshake, you take their wrist and you hold it up to their face and you point to it and you say, "Look at the hand. Take a deep breath and close your eyes down." Okay, and then you just deepen the trance. You just say, I'll count from 10 down to 1. Let each number I say relax your mind. So by the time I reach the number 1, you go even deeper, relax. 10, 9, 8, whatever. And then continue deepening the trance and talking about relaxation and talking about going into trance and whatever, and just support them. And they will, you can feel their shoulders slump. You can feel them. And if you look at the video after we do this one, if you look at that video, like I say, you'll see 5 examples of me doing this induction. So you get a better feel for, I don't have anybody here to show you this induction, but look at the video and the video will show you how to do it. So you do that. And the beauty of this induction is that it's not an instant induction. One of my friends told me an instant induction is, it's like it's digital, right? You do the instant induction and boom, it works. Or maybe it doesn't work. Okay. But this induction, it's slow, and with most people, it will work, but it doesn't matter if they go into a very deep trance or if they go into a light trance, it's still going to work. And what you do is you just talk with them beforehand and you say, and this is important, I should have mentioned this before. You say, um, um, first of all you have to do is follow my instructions. That's all. Okay, and if they agree to follow your instructions, you're golden. And another thing you can do to ensure that this is going to work is you say, to them, you say, are there any suggestions that I can give you when you're in trance that will, could improve your life? Like, I don't know, stop smoking, stop procrastinating. I did this one time. I was doing a street hypnosis class, and this is over 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, down in St. Louis, and I took the students out on the street to hypnotize people, and they didn't want to do it. They were all, I don't know, they just didn't want to do it. And I kept encouraging them to do it, do it, do it, and they wouldn't. And then they started to grumble and wonder whether or not, I was all talk. And I turned around and they pushed this girl at me and they said, "Hey, hypnotize her." And I thought, well, this is not good. Don't let somebody else choose your hypnotic subject for you. That's if you want to see something really ugly, uh, look up Marshall Silver, Dave Letterman. It's still on YouTube, and it happened probably 30, 25, 30 years ago. And Marshall Silver was on the Dave Letterman show, and Dave Letterman chose the subject from Marshall and interfered with him and made it impossible for him to get this person into trance, and it was ugly. Now it turned out okay for Marshall Silver because the fan mail was so negative that Letterman brought him back on the show later, and that's what made Marshall Silver's career. was he got to go on Letterman again. He might have been there 3 times, I don't know. But the second time he got to hypnotize somebody, and that made him, that launched his career. But Letterman was very mean to him in the first show. So anyway, but what you need to think about is don't let somebody else choose your subject. But that happened. They chose her for me and they pushed her on me. So I said, "Do you want to be hypnotized?" And she said, "Well, yeah." It wasn't really great. Okay. So I said, "Well, hypnosis is really good. It's really fun. It's really relaxing. If you have any stress, it's great for that. Uh, are there any suggestions I can give you if that would improve your life?" And she said, "Yeah, if you can help me stop procrastinating." I said, "I'm good at that." Once again, you want to increase uh, her belief that you can do the job. And then I said, once again, all you have to do is follow my instructions. So I went in, I did the induction, look at the hand, take a deep breath, and close your eyes down. And then I put my hand on her shoulder, one, so I could tell if she was steady on her feet, and two, so I could feel the muscles if she began to go deeper in hypnosis. And then I did the induction, I did the deepener, and I gave her suggestions for not procrastinating. The whole time I'm evaluating her, right? It's not digital, it's more analog, so it's progressive relaxation actually. And her shoulders dropped a bit. She went into a light trance, but not a very good trance. I couldn't do much with her. I told her at one point that her eyes were locked shut and she couldn't open them, and that worked. And I told her that her arm was stiff and rigid, and told her to try and bend it, and she couldn't. But she was still in a light trance. If I had tried something like said, um, "You've forgotten your name," it wouldn't have worked with this girl because she was not in that deep a trance. Okay, so I gave her suggestions for not procrastinating her, and then I emerged her from hypnosis. And when I emerged her, I looked around, and working with her standing in the middle of the park, it drew a crowd. And my students then got themselves some volunteers and started doing what they were supposed to do, which was practice the instant inductions that I had taught them. So it worked. But boy, that could have been bad if I had done it. If I had done it differently, done it with an instant induction, I could have looked like a fool. It might have worked, but this I knew it would work because I asked her, I told her all you have to do is follow my instructions. And when she said she'd follow my instructions, I knew she would keep her eyes closed. She would listen to me. Plus, she was getting that carrot. She was getting that thing that she wanted, which was therapy to not procrastinate. So I knew she was going to cooperate, and it worked well. So that's another thing that you can do. All right. So what else have we got here? Um, because we were getting close to the end. Um, okay, so demonstrations. What are you going to do? All right, the first thing that you do when you've got the person in trance is you go through some of the Aaron scale. Aaron scale, it's 1 through 6 as far as depth of hypnosis. So the first thing you test is the eye lock. And you tell them, in a moment, I'll count from 3 down to 1. As I do, feel your eyelids closing down and sealing shut. 1, or 3, feel those eyelids closing down, sealing tightly shut. 2, like they were locked down. 3, like they were super glued down. In a moment, I'll have you try to open them. And the harder you try to open them, the more they stick. Now, when you say try, it implies failure, right? And also, you're giving her a double bind. The harder you try to open them, the more they stick. And almost everybody is going to, you'll see their eyebrows raise up and down, and their eyelids are stuck, and they can't get their eyes open. And you say, "That's right. Now relax and go deeper. Stop trying." Okay. So that's number one. And honestly, that's going to impress most of the people. They'll be impressed, like, "Wow, she couldn't open her eyes." Well, I mean, we're hypnotists. That doesn't impress us, but it impresses other people. It impresses other people. Okay. So then you want to test for Aaron's level 2, which is a deeper level of trance. And you take their arm, you say, "I'm going to take this arm by the wrist." You've warned them before you touch the wrist, and put it out in front of them and tell them to make the arm stiff and rigid. You know, make the arm stiff at the shoulder, stiff at the elbow, stiff at the wrist. and and it gets stiffer and stiffer. And in a moment, I'll have you try to bend that arm, and the harder you try to bend it, the more stiff and rigid it becomes. And they, if they're in like a light to medium level of trance, they are not going to be able to bend their arm. And honestly, for non-hypnotists, they're going to be impressed by that. Okay, so you're at a party and they got their buddy, and he's like there, and he can't bend his arm, and he can't do it, and they're impressed. There's more you can do, but they're impressed. And then you say, in a moment, I'm going to tap that hand. When I do, the arm goes loose and limp. It falls by your side, and you go deeper, go deeper. Okay, so now you want to try for something a little bit better. So what I'll normally do is I'll take the hand and I'll put it on the arm of the chair, and I'll say that it's stuck there, like it was super glued there. And the harder you try to lift it, more it sticks. And all you need is a light, like a medium level of trance, and their hand is going to stick. Okay, so you do that. And then if you decide you've got a good person, and there's a 1 in 5 chance that you do have a good person, if they pass these 3 tests, then you can do something fun like take away their name. And the way I do that is I'll say, would it be interesting? Because some people don't want to lose their name. So I say, would it be interesting if I could make you forget your name for just a few moments? Would that be interesting? And if they say yes, go for it. If they don't want to do that, they'll shake their head, and you say, well, then you go for losing a number or something like that. And so you say, well, here's the way it's going to work, providing they're okay with it. In a moment, I'll have you open your eyes, and then I will snap my fingers. And when I do, your name will just disappear. Just want that to happen, expect it to happen, and watch it happen. And those are like, that's a magic phrase that I got from Dave Ellman. Just want it to happen, expect it to happen, and watch it happen. Okay. And open your eyes and try to speak your name and find that you can't. Now, you don't need a terribly deep trance for them to, you'll see some of them will just go, "Mm, mm," and they're trying to get it out. They know their name, but they can't get it out. What's that mean? That means that they're in aphasia, which is only level 3, right? Or sometimes they just give this look, their eyes go, and then you know they've absolutely lost it. That means they're amnesic, and that means a level 4. Okay, but even if they only go to level 3 and they know their name but they just can't speak it, well, that's good enough, and everybody's going to think that you took their name away, even though they knew what their name was, they just couldn't speak it. Right, so that's amnesia, and that's level 4 for Aaron's scale. And there are a lot of different things you can do with them. You can do different easy things. You take their hands and begin to rotate their hands, grab their wrists and begin to rotate their hands, and say they go faster and faster and faster. And you try to stop them, and they go faster and faster and faster. You can do simple things like that. But when you get a star, then you can do all sorts of stuff. Um, you can do negative and positive and negative hallucinations. You can do great things. And you might find somebody who's really good, but you don't need a star in order to impress people with your hypnosis. You don't need a star. You just need somebody who's willing to give it a go. And you can do a good demonstration. And you'll be well ahead of the majority of hypnotists, because when they hear, can you show me some hypnosis? They don't know what to do, but now you know what to do. So I've included a couple of videos. One is the handshake interrupt, and the other one was the finger bang. That's the way I do it, and taking it into an induction. And so that's the thing. I just want to, I have an idea, and I just want to ask you folks about it. Just, you don't have to answer, but just think about this. I've been thinking about doing something in a couple of months down in the Dominican Republic, and but I'm not. Normally, I try to, when I do a class, and I haven't scheduled this or anything. This is just an idea. Normally, when I do a class, I'll put it somewhere where people can go out, and then after the class they can go and see the sites and everything. And the DR, it's a nice place. It's nice, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about going in, maybe for a weekend, and maybe 10 or 12 people, and just staying in the hotel and just doing instant inductions. Excuse me, and practicing instant inductions. And then if you want to take off and take a look at the rest of the country, you're welcome to do that. I've been there. It's really nice. But basically, I'm thinking about just lock ourselves in a hotel, in a room, and we just do like 10, 12 people, and we do instant induction. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, just be thinking about it. I haven't planned anything, and I'm just looking if there's any interest in it. And yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to ask you guys. If anybody has any questions, you can put them in the chat here. Let's see. Let's see if I had any questions so far. I'll put my glasses on because I'm getting old. Uh, let's see. Well, thank you. Hey, Danny. Danny's here. Danny's my, oh my gosh, Danny Trejo. He was my best supervisor ever when I was in the Air Force. I swear to God, I I was such a bad technician when I was in the Air Force. I had no self confidence, and Danny Trejo, uh, man, he believed in me. And Danny, I'm so glad you're here. That Danny is one of my favorite people. I haven't seen him in 30 years, but yeah, Danny was. Yeah, thank you, Danny. You're the best supervisor I ever had. But anyway, if anybody else has any questions, I can answer them now. Or you always send me um, an email. I'm pretty good with my answering my emails. Don't send me a voicemail because I've got voicemails from 7 years ago that I have not answered. So all right. Well, I'll give it a couple of minutes. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to tell you. Um, Gosh, I can't. Oh yeah, I know. Hey, I'm going to be out in Vegas for. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to be out in Vegas in February with the National Guild of Hypnotists. They have the Solid Gold Weekend, and it's a small like sort of thing, and they'll have about 6 or 7 presenters, and we do it in one at a time. It's not like a big convention. We do it one at a time. And I'm going to do a presentation out there on instant and rapid inductions. I think they allotted 3 hours for that. So if you want to go to Vegas in February, it'll be warm. So I'll be out there. Other than that, I don't have any. Well, thank you, Bradley. Thank you, Brad. Hope to see you soon. I don't have anything else scheduled. I definitely have a class scheduled for Germany. I'll be in Germany in I think it's September. Yeah, I'll be out and do 2 classes in Germany in September. Other than that, I have no classes scheduled. I just have this idea about the Dominican Republic, but we'll see if that works. Oh, my second. Okay, John asked my second favorite induction. Okay, um, my second favorite induction. Oh yeah. I should have mentioned this. All right. So let's say you're at that party and you say, so who wants to do some hypnosis with me? And so I'll say, well, and they'll say, well, not me here, do her, do her, do him, and that's rough. So what you do is you say, well, nobody wants to go first. Several people are interested in getting hypnotized, but nobody wants to go first. Okay, so I am so glad that you asked that question, John. And I got time. Yeah, I'm going to answer this, and then we'll finish it. Okay, so I've had this happen to me. I had it's a family, and it's like everybody wants to be hypnotized, but nobody wants to be the first one. So you say, well, let's all do it together. So you sit them all down, right? And then you do the Dave Ellman induction, all right? The Dave Ellman group induction. And I think I've got a video on YouTube about this. I do. If check out my YouTube channel, just say Dave Ellman group, okay? And I think it's on there. If it's not, you can email me and I will send you that. But I'm almost positive I've got it. All right. So you sit them all down and you say, okay, everyone, take a nice deep breath, fill up your lungs, hold it, and let it out, and close your eyes down. Relax. And then excuse me, you go through the Dave Ellman induction, and you have them open their eyes and close their eyes and open their eyes and close their eyes 3 times. And then You have them make their arms stiff and rigid, so stiff it won't bend. And the harder you try to bend, the more stiff and rigid. And when I snap my fingers, the arm goes down. You go even deeper, and that's the third part of the Dave Elman induction. And then you do the you tell them you're going to hear noises, traffic or people talking. None of these sounds bother you. You just go deeper. You do that, and then you just do a 10 down to 1 deepener. I'm going to count from 10 to 1 down to 1. Each number I count, you go deeper. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deeper, deeper, deeper. Like, and then watch your people, your group. And if somebody looks like this, that's your best person. And then that's the person that you work with after you've done this induction. Okay. So if they want to do it as a group, you do the Dave Elman group induction. And I'm positive I've got this on my YouTube channel. Dave Elman group. Look that up, you'll find it. And if you don't, email me. I'll put it on there, but I'm positive it's on there. Okay, so you do that, and then you can tell who the best subjects are because they go into hypnosis for you during the group induction, and then you just take that person and do whatever type of induction you want to do with that person, and it's going to work because you've already pre-hypnotized them. It's easy. It's the coolest thing ever. You are the coolest person in the room. So take advantage of it. Entertain your friends. They love it. So I want to thank you all for coming. It's been really good. And if you're watching this on the replay, which I sincerely hope it got recorded, that'll be good too. So all right. So thank you all for coming. And yeah, thank you guys. All right. Take care. Bye bye.